So first off, my name is Brian Qualls, and I trust everyone can see the screen there. Couple of rules before we kind of get going is I have everybody on mute right now, but I am going to be monitoring the chat. So if there are any questions, you don't have to wait till the end. Go ahead and hit me with the in the chat, and then if it gets something that seems to be pretty in depth, I'll go ahead and unmute you, and we can have the conversation. This is going to be a little bit different webinar, I think, that you've seen in the past. As you know, we've got a little bit of a PowerPoint here in the beginning, but for the most part, we're running Land Effects live. So you know, this class is for you. So if there's something we need to stop and spend a little bit more time on, we're happy to do it. I'm here to kind of go through that. So we got a good group here. Like I said, I'm going to keep an eye on people jumping in. But again, I'm Brian Qualls. I'm the National Business Development Manager for Unique Lighting Systems. I've been with the company going on about 11 and a half years, going on 12. And I am a licensed landscape architect here in Arizona. And so my job is specifically to work with designers, landscape architects, and kind of get them comfortable with low voltage lighting design, and specifically with unique lighting systems and our stuff. One of the things that we do as a company is we do offer a lighting design service. So we'll do the lighting design for you. I'm not here to talk about that today. If you can see me in the little screen there, there's the QR code if you're interested. If you haven't used that service, go ahead and scan the QR code. It'll jump you to our webpage that talks about it, or go ahead and call me, email me anytime, and I'll be happy to go over that program with you. But really, the crux of this class today is I travel the country. Like I said, my title's national. I go all over the country, and I talk to many landscape architects who are using Land Effects and would really like to kind of get a little bit deeper into it. So unfortunately, I don't know a lot about Land Effects. I work with them on a regular basis to make sure our product is up to date. I've got a really good partnership, or we as Unique Lighting have a really good partnership with it. I manage that with them, and we're constantly making sure our product's up to date. So I'm pretty confident if you got in there today, our new stuff that is in there is there. But again, we want through that. So I'm rambling here. Since I don't have the expertise to show you guys Land Effects, I'm leaning on a real good friend of mine, and that's Pat Pabich of YTL Incorporated out of the Dallas area. He is a design build contractor and just a really good partner with Land Effects and with us. And I'm horrible with segues, so without further ado, Pat, go ahead and introduce yourself, and let's get rolling. And like I said, any questions, hit me with the chat. I'm gonna hand it over to you, Pat.
Okay, well, thank you, Brian, and good morning to everyone. Like Brian said, my name is Pat Pavish. I'm with YTL Landscape Services. We're a full service design build company in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and we do a lot of work on site design, landscape, irrigation, lighting, pools. We also run commercial maintenance. A little bit about us. We started our company in spring of 1995. And in fall of 2012, we were really starting to look for new design software, and mainly on the irrigation side. And we came across Land FX, and we dug into them pretty hard and ended up purchasing Land FX. And I will tell you, we have become a huge fan of Land FX and everything that they do. In 2017, we were hired to design and build a large residential subdivision here, and we needed some help on lighting design. And so we reached out to Unique. I actually called them, and Brian Qualls actually answered the phone that morning. We had a really long conversation. He helped us through that project, and Brian and I have become good friends. And Unique Lighting has definitely become our lighting manufacturer of choice. So, today's topic, why are we here? Well, like Brian told you, he knew that we use LandFX for all of our design projects, and asked if we could do a webinar with you guys and kind of dig into the lighting platform, and kind of show you some of the tips and tricks that we've developed to help us complete our projects. So, today's outline, we're gonna open up LandFX, and we're gonna start digging into things like the lighting manager and how do we add fixtures, how do we add auxiliary items, and what is an auxiliary item, and how do we get our proper wire size in, and then adding our power and transformers. We're going to lay out a small project with you guys today, and we're going to try to use all the tools available in LandFX. Things like their circuiting tool, and kind of go over all the error checking that they offer, and then we're going to again dig into this power and transformer calcs. And before we kind of jump over there, I just wanted to kind of go over a few definitions and maybe some thoughts and things we need to think about before we start designing. First off, we're going to always start with our transformer. And a transformer is, basically our power source, right? We're just converting, our transformer is just converting our 120 volts down to a 12-volt system. Our fixtures, that's pretty simple. Fixtures are just our light source, any lamp that we have in our system. Hubs. So Unique Lighting is one of the few manufacturers that believe in the hub system. We've been doing this since 2017, and we totally buy into this hub system. You can think of a hub as a valve box in the ground. And a hub allows us to have a central location for all of our connections. So you can see that we have these hubs in our design, and we have our fixtures, our wires coming into this hub. So we're only going to make one connection for all of our fixtures in this zone, one connection in this zone, and one for this zone. The other thing that hubs allow us to do is it allows us to fuse the load. So inside our hub, we're going to install an inline fuse that is going to protect this section of lights. So if we end up with an issue, in here, we're going to pop or blow this fuse, but the remaining portion of our project is still going to operate correctly. We have wiring, and we're basically today going to talk about two different types of wiring. We've got our manufactured supplied, and Unique Lighting has a 25-foot lead on all of their fixtures. So our manufacturer, when we're purchasing this lamp, we're getting 25 feet of lead, if you will, that's going to be connected into this hub. Home runs are nothing more than the cable that your contractor or your group is going to be installing. So a home run is coming from our transformer, going out to our hubs, or a home run can be from hub to hub. Now, one of the things that we need to understand when we're designing low voltage systems is voltage drop. And voltage drop is nothing more than the decrease of electrical potential along the path of a current flowing in an electrical circuit. And we can think of voltage drop as pressure loss in an irrigation system, right? So if we look at our little diagram here, we have our house, and we have a transformer, and we've got a zone of lights that is, up close to our house, and maybe we have some trees that are, quite a distance away from our house. So this wire run that is connecting these lights is going to be much longer than this wire run. So we have much more resistance or voltage drop on this run. Now, here's our formula for calculating voltage drop, and you don't need to know this formula. The software is gonna handle this for us. But Brian has a webinar coming up in a couple of weeks that's really going to dig into the engineering and the voltage drop side of this. And Brian, do you want to talk about that webinar?
So for those of you that kind of want to see how the sausage is made, or really kind of, it's like anything else, calculators in our world have make it a lot easier to do the math, but you still need to kind of understand and make sure that if the input or the information the calculator is giving you, well, does that number look right? Right. And so same thing goes with land effects, same thing goes with any of those calculators in there. If you fat finger a number and you want to have a good understanding of, hey, that looks right. So I've got a class. It's going to be on November 17th. I'm going to put right now in the chat a link to be able to sign up, similar to this one, and I'm running the engineering class through LACES. So for those of you that need it, you'll be able to get a CEU for attending that class. You don't have to, if you don't need it, you can, and you're still interested, please sign up, and we will spend the time of talking about voltage drop, and then we'll get into how to size a transformer, how to manage the hubs, and really gets into it. And we wanted to give you a little bit of a taste of it today, so that way it was a little clearer when Pat starts laying out stuff on land effects. But I don't want to spend, this is another hour class, so we want to do that at a separate time. So links in the chat. Feel free to sign up anytime or go through LACES, and you can get it there. It hasn't advertised through LACES yet, but it should by the beginning of next week. But you can sign up here within the chat.
Okay, so the reason that we bring this formula up right now is that we need to understand in our formula that A in our formula is basically our full load of current in amps. And when we're dealing with low voltage systems, we use VA for A. And many of you may be asking, well, what is VA? Well, VA is a volt amp, and a volt amp is the measure of apparent power. As where a watt is a unit of electrical power. And the way to think about watts is that watts is how we perceive how bright or how dull a lamp is. And so here's this cut sheet from Unique that's describing this PAR 36 LED lamp. And you can see this PAR 36 has a power rating of 13 watts. But it has a volt amp of 20.8 VA, or voltage amp. And this is the number that we need to understand, and that's the number we need to use when we're doing our voltage drop calculations. So how do we deal with voltage drop? Well, there's two basic ways. One is by using a multi-tap transformer. So we have this diagram of a Unique 600 watt transformer, and down at the bottom we've got a detail of the lugs, or taps as we're going to call them in the webinar. And this tap bar is sitting right up here in our transformer. And these taps are arranged in a manner that we're showing here, that we've got a couple of taps for our common wires, and then we have a 12, a 14, all the way up to a 24 volt tap. And a common way to kind of think about these multi-tap transformers, that in the field we're always going to have a zone of lamps that are going to be relatively close to our transformer, and we've got some mids and some remotes and maybe a way out there zone. Well, on this way out there zone, we have this really long run of wire that's coming back to our transformer, much longer than our close run. So we're going to have a much larger voltage drop on this line than we have on this line. Well, we may need to start our voltage at a higher voltage to absorb this large voltage drop, so that our way out there zone and our close zone are burning at the same rate. The other way that we can deal with wire size, with voltage drop, is wire size. And again, here's our formula that you don't need to know, but R is our resistance in our wire. And our most common wire that we use in the field is a 12-2 gauge wire. And we have this resistance of 162. Well, if we've got a zone that's, a long distance from our transformer, we may need to jump that wire size up to a larger size wire, because we have less resistance on that wire, right? So that's kind of all that we really want to talk about before we jump over into land FX. Let's jump you over there and start talking through how we actually design. So this is just a lighting file. All of our bases are XREF'd in here, and we've got a residential project here, and we've got our house and our pool and a pavilion and a Nice pond up front and sports court in the back. So the first thing that we're actually going to do on a project is that we are going to just start placing all of our fixtures, right? So we're not really concerned at this point where transformers go, where wire runs go. We're just trying to dial our design in to get the intent that we want to see at finished product. After we have all of our fixtures, we go in and we create what we call hub zones. Now, these orange circles are nothing more than a non-plot layer. It's just a circle with a 22-foot radius. We set that radius at 22 foot because remember we talked, unique supplies us with 25-foot leads on our fixtures. So if we set this circle here, we're going to set a hub in the middle of this circle, and all of these fixtures are going to connect into our hubs. Once we have all of our hub zones established, we're then going to step off and start setting hubs into the design. So you can see this circle here, we have an IntelliHub, and in this circle, we have an S-Hub. And the way to think about the difference between an IntelliHub and S-Hub, we always say that an IntelliHub is the start of the power coming into the zone. And then we can branch off from that hub into our S-Hubs. So maybe a better way to think of it is an IntelliHub is maybe your electrical panel, and an S-Hub would be like your sub panel. So once we have all of our hubs set, we'll go through and we'll wire the entire project. So you can see in this zone, we have our S-Hub. We have these three fixtures that are wired to the S-Hub. Then the S-Hub is wired over to the IntelliHub. The IntelliHub also has fixtures that are connected into that IntelliHub. And then we're wiring from the IntelliHub back to our transformer. Now, this is where we're starting to get into how we design. We'll go ahead and run a schedule at this point. And this is just a default LandFX lighting schedule. And the reason that we're running a schedule at this point is that LandFX will actually supply us with our VA number, the number that we need to run our calculations. So on this Apollo star, we have a VA of 13.6. Once we have that established, we'll go out and create another non-plot layer. And all we're doing is we're copying this information from our schedule over to the left-hand side of our schedule. And we'll run that for each one of the fixtures. Once we have that completed, we'll actually take that information and we'll throw it out into the design. Again, this is a non-plot layer. Now, one of the reasons that we set this in the design is that when we are calculating our VA or our power coming into this S-Hub, we just have these numbers readily available that we can just quickly do easy math and know what our power is to this S-Hub. Once we have all of those in the design, we then do a hub call out. Now we show this on all of our designs. This is just a little custom block that we built. No big deal, real easy to do. And this hub or this call out is calling out this S-Hub. So this is telling us that our transformer 4 on this S-Hub has a VA of 27.2, and this hub is wired to wire number 4A, right? So again, we show that on every single hub throughout the design. And once we have these calcs, we'll then jump out to an Excel spreadsheet. And we'll run an Excel spreadsheet for each transformer on the project. And we're going to dig into the spreadsheets a little later this morning. But the thing that I want to point out is that this information is saying on transformer number 1, on our first run, we need to use a wire size of 12, and we need to connect it into our 12 tap. This Excel spreadsheet also gives us our actual wattage on the transformer. That helps us size our transformer. Once we have that information, we can go out into the design, set our transformers, call them out, and your lighting design is basically done. So It's kind of the steps we go through. So let's jump you over into a clean design, and we are not going to make you watch this entire design. We'll just grab an area like this, change that color. So we're only going to be worried about this little area right here in our project. So let's jump over to FX Site under Ref Notes, and we'll click on Lighting. And this brings up our lighting manager. And your lighting manager works just like all your other managers in LandFX, you know, whether it's planning or irrigation. We have these 4 radio buttons up at the top. Our low voltage button is going to control, you know, where all of our fixtures are going to be listed. Auxiliary is going to be things like your hubs, maybe your light logic, J boxes, anything that you want to show up on the schedule, you know, that's kind of considered an extra item is going to go in auxiliary. Wire, pretty self-explanatory. Power is going to be your transformer. So let's jump over to low voltage and let's get some fixtures in this project. We're going to click on New. And this is going to bring up the manufacturers or partners that LandFX deals with. And unfortunately, it's in alphabetical order. So we always have to go to the bottom of the list to pick up Unique. We're going to click on Unique. This is going to bring up a dialog box, and this is listing all of the fixtures that Unique Lighting offers. And Unique does a fantastic job of staying up to date with LandFX. I've never found anything in you know, Brian's catalog that is not in LandFX. So LandFX will separate all of our different types of fixtures. So we've got our downlights, our hardscapes, our uplights, our well lights, right? So let's jump over to downlights and let's pick a fixture for, you know, some tree downlighting. We're just going to grab this lunar. This is going to bring up some information about that particular product. We've got this more info button that will take us directly to Unique Lighting's website if we need some more information. We've got our lamp options here. And the nice thing about LandFX is that these are the actual lamps options that Unique offers. So if we know that we're picking a lamp from here, we're going to be able to get that product from Unique. So let's just drop down and let's grab a 5-watt CCT bulb. This will pull up a little information about that lamp. We can change its color. We'll crank that to like a 5,000 Kelvin. The material, what finishes Unique offers, we'll just leave that as a default, and we'll say add to project. This is going to bring up your symbols library, and your symbols library is going to look a little different than ours. Our top, I don't know, 7 or 8 rows are symbols actually from Unique Lighting, and I'm sure Brian Qualls will be more than happy to share these with you. Your library is probably going to start with this light 01. And we can pick any symbol here for our lunar. Let's just grab this spot 02. We'll say OK. This is going to bring up one more dialog box. This is basically giving us the information that we've already selected. At this point, we can add notes to the fixture. We can replace the fixture. We can reconfigure, say we want to put in a different lamp. We can assign cost. We can set our detail. We're just going to say OK. And so our lunar has just been added to our project. Now at this point, you can go through, you know, lamp by lamp by lamp and pick out each, you know, lamp one at a time. Or just like all the other managers in LandFX, we can go import from any other project that we've, you know, previously designed. We also can pull from templates. So let's just grab our template. We'll grab an Apollo star. We'll grab a Voyager, an illuminator, a pulsar. We'll say add. We'll say done. Done. And we just quickly added 4 new lamps. So we're now ready to start setting lamps in the design. So let's go and grab, you know, a path light. And many of you may not be familiar with the naming of all of the different lamps. So LandFX actually will allow us to separate, by type of lamp. So if we said we want a path light, we can just hit path and that'll only show our path lights. Same for well lights, whatever you want to pick. So let's just go grab this illuminator. We're going to click on place. And this works just like anything else in LandFX. We can just left click to place, your fixtures. Delete those. We'll grab that again. We'll say place. We'll place one. We'll tap our V key to copy along a path. And I'm just dragging my mouse out. Tap the 1 key and this gives us our copy spacing. Let's just set these like on an 8-foot spacing. We'll say exact, say okay. And now all I'm doing is pulling my mouse to the right side of the screen, and LandFX is placing a lamp every 8 feet. So we've just set our first 3 path lights. Now this is just a little outdoor patio, outdoor kitchen, if you will. We have this solid brick wall. Let's go ahead and set an uplight on that brick wall. And I'm not really seeing the fixture that I want to use here. So we're just going to say new. I'm going to go to the bottom of the list again because we're going to unique. And this is kind of the nice thing of LandFX. The point here is that you do not have to front load your entire project with every piece of equipment that you want to use. You can just add them as you see fit. So we'll go to uplights. We'll grab a starburst. We'll grab our lamp option. We'll go a 4-watt, 3000. We'll say okay. Let's go grab one of Brian's symbols. We'll say okay. We'll say okay. And our starburst uplight has just been added. So let's go ahead and place this in our design. We'll just place. We'll rotate this around. And this brings up kind of an interesting point. You see this dashed white line? This dashed white line is your IES file. And for those of you who don't know what an IES file is, this is manufactured supplied data on this lamp. This is basically the throw pattern, if you will. Well, because we used a custom block, sometimes this IES doesn't come in correctly. So this is just a simple block in AutoCAD. So we can just double click that, open our block editor. We'll go in here, we'll rotate this around. We'll save this. And now our IES is in line with our fixture. We can rotate our fixture and we're good to go. Now, just a little side note. We in our office don't really like using IES files. We don't think they really show the intent of our design. Most of the jurisdictions that we send our submittals in for approval don't require IES to be shown. Again, kind of back to the intent. If we sent this out for permitting, we're basically saying that we have a lamp here that is going to shine through a solid brick wall, that's then shine through an outdoor kitchen, and then light up this table. And that is not our intent at all. So luckily, LandFX brings these IES files in on separate dedicated layers. So once we complete the design, we'll just go through and freeze those layers out. So just a little quick tip about those IES.
And if I can jump in real quick, Pat, too. So the IES files are generated by us. So they're basically, if you think about distribution uniformity on an irrigation plan, it's similar. So if you are working with an MEP that is, you're going to use them mainly for like path lights or making sure you get enough foot candles on a pathway, that's kind of where then these IES files are really useful, mainly for like the downlights or the path lights to make sure you're meeting code on any pathway type system. So if you ever kind of run up against an MEP that's pushing back on low voltage, just know that this information, you don't have to go through LandFX to get it. I have the IES files. In fact, they're on our website as a separate file. So if you're working with an MEP that is asking for them, either give me a call or I can direct you to the website and you can download them and then send those off. So they're not dedicated strictly to land effects. They are standalone, but we provide that information for land effects for the 3D renderings and things like that.
All right, good deal. So our green circles here on our plan, these are our existing trees. That's an XREF file. Let's go ahead and grab a lunar and start downlighting some of these trees. We're going to just click place. And all I'm doing is clicking once, and then I'm moving my mouse to set my rotation. We'll pop in another here. We'll grab one here. We'll come down here and place a couple. And we're just quickly setting those, right? When we set downlights up in a tree, we will generally set well lights as well. And I would say 75% of the time, if we set 2 downlights, we're going to set 2 well lights. It just gives us a little better balance to the finished product. We'll just set a couple on those. I'm not going to set them under these trees. This is a large retaining wall. So let's go ahead and place some vanguards in this retaining wall. And you can see those white lines, that's your IES file again. We're just going to click this. We're going to rotate this around. Let's go ahead and tap our V key and our 1, and we'll say we want to separate these out, 10 feet. Exactly. And again, I'm just pulling my mouse up the screen and it's setting these in line. So we just set 4 wall lights. Let's go ahead and grab a couple more paths. Place these at the end of our walls. And we've got some specimens. Let's grab a couple of pulsars. Place those under our specimen trees. And you can see those IES files came in correctly on that block, but again, we're going to freeze that out. So I think we're pretty good with the amount of lights that we have in here. So we need to go ahead and create those hub zones now, right? So we're going to go out, we're going to grab a non-plot layer. We're going to create a circle. Sorry, we're going to create a circle. Sorry. Generally, drawing a circle is not that tough. 22 feet. And we're going to grab this and we're going to copy this around the drawing. So we're grabbing the circle from the center because this is the center of our hub, right? And again, we said we've got 25-foot leads on these lamps. So when we set this circle, we want to make sure that all of the lamps are falling within that circle. So that when we set our hub, that 25-foot lead will go over and hit that hub. We'll group these together. Now, I said that all of our fixtures have 25-foot leads, and we're downlighting these trees. Well, most of our 25 feet of lead is getting used by placing the tree up or placing the lamp up in the tree, right? So we are always going to set a hub at the base of each tree. So we'll set a hub zone for this tree. We'll set a hub zone for that tree. We'll set a hub zone for those last 2 lights. So we have our hub zones completed. So now we need to start setting hubs. So let's go over to auxiliary. We'll click new.
Hey, Pat, real quick, can you kind of go through why you are using a 20-foot circle, even though we provide a 25-foot wire lead on the fixtures that are on the ground?
You bet. Let me just get this in here. Wow, I just can't spell today. Okay, so 25 foot, and why do we set a 22-foot circle? Well, we want to have a little room of play, right? We might need to, snake that lead through some, around some rocks, or, in the depth of the ditch, or just having a little bit of extra play for our connection. So we want to make sure that we're leaving enough room so that we don't have to add any wire to our manufactured supply. Brian, did that answer the question?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. So while Brian was asking that question, I basically just went into auxiliary. I clicked new. All I did is pick a symbol, and then I gave it a title of IntelliHub. Okay, so now our IntelliHub is in our auxiliary. Let's jump back over to our lighting template, and let's add our S hub. And now we have our two different types of hubs in our project. So let's go grab IntelliHub. Let's click place. Now again, we said that an IntelliHub, we think of IntelliHubs as we're bringing wire into the zone, power into the zone, right? We know that we're going to set a transformer down here. We're going to have a wire coming into this zone. So let's set an IntelliHub right there in the middle of our circle. This would be zone number 2, but we said we need an IntelliHub at the base of each tree. So we're going to go ahead and set an IntelliHub right here for this tree. We're going to come back and grab this in a minute. And then these zones down here, we're going to need an IntelliHub for that third wire. Let's go jump out, grab our S hub, we'll hit place. So we said we need an IntelliHub for this series of lights because it's at the bottom of this tree. And then we're going to set an S hub for the base of this tree. We'll set an S hub at the base of this tree, and we'll set an S hub at the base of this tree. So all of our hubs are set. So now we're ready to start wiring our fixtures to our hubs. So let's jump over to wire. We'll click new. This is going to bring up LandFX, wiring manager. Now let's go ahead and get our manufactured supplied wire in the project first. And Unique supplies us with 18 gauge wire. So we will click off the others. This is an SPT3 type wire. It is an AWG. We've got this little layer button here that we can click. And this shows us the information that LandFX is providing for this wire. So it's defaulting to an LL wire type 1 layer. You can change this. This is the color that LandFX is giving us. You can change this. Line type, default, plot width. We're just going to accept all of those, and we're going to say OK. Our 18 gauge is now in the project. Let's jump back over to our lighting template. We're going to say OK. Let's get a couple more size wires in here. We'll grab a 12 and a 10. And you can see these templates are just really nice to have because they're really easy to get stuff loaded back in. So we have an 18, a 12, and a 10. Let's start in this zone number 1. Our manufactured supply is an 18 gauge. We're going to say place, and this works just like LandFX irrigation. When we click on our fixture, and we need that fixture to turn yellow, saying that LandFX recognizes that we have made a good connection to that fixture. We're going to wire over to our IntelliHub. Now, when I clicked on this IntelliHub, LandFX created this arc. I didn't do anything. I just clicked fixture and IntelliHub. LandFX set this arc for me. Our IntelliHub turned yellow. We're good. We can go back out, hit our fixture. It turned yellow. We're good. We can hit our enter key a couple of times to repeat the command. We'll go fixture, IntelliHub, fixture. So we should have wired all 4 of our lamps. We use our highlight object tool. We can hit our IntelliHub. Everything turns yellow. Everything turns yellow. Everything has a yellow circle on there. That means we've got good connections in that zone. Okay. So let's go up to zone number 2. Let's use our manufactured supply. We'll hit place. And what we're going to do here is we're going to wire all of these lights into this IntelliHub. We're going to wire all of these lights into the S hub, and then we're going to connect the S hub to the IntelliHub. So we're using our manufactured supply to 18. We're clicking place, light, hub, light. And you can see that I'm going to change this. I accidentally tapped a key here. 18 place. And I'll explain that here in a minute. Boy, I've got quick fingers today. Fixture, hub, fixture, fixture, hub, fixture, fixture, hub. Now let's jump up here. We will go fixture, hub, fixture, fixture, hub, fixture. Okay, now you can come in here and you can adjust these arcs, however you want to see. You can clean these up as much as you want. I will tell you that LandFX does not use this arc when it does its calculations. LandFX uses a point-to-point shortest route for its calculations. So LandFX is actually going to go from center of this block to center of this block. So feel free to move these around, clean those up to a schematic level that you're comfortable with. So we have these connected, we have these connected. Let's connect the two hubs. Let's go with a 12. We'll go S hub to IntelliHub. We'll clean that up. We can use our highlight object. Everything turns yellow. Everything has a yellow circle on there. We're good in
Hey Pat, we've got a hand raised here. Tom, I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can unmute you. Yeah, so now Tom, you have to unmute yourself, but I got you to where you can ask your question. You got to unmute Tom. I don't know if you know how to, if you see the button there. Still nothing. Okay, well, go ahead, Pat. Tom, if you can put your question in the chat, I can ask it that way.
Okay, we're good to go?
Yeah, keep going. Okay,
so I'm just going to quickly wire this section up. I'm sure it's not really that entertaining to watch, us wire this stuff. Grab our 18. And we'll grab these last 3. Okay, so now we've got all of our fixtures wired to our hubs. We just need to, ooh, I missed that. That did not turn yellow. Sorry, guys. Do that one more time. Fixture, hub, fixture. Okay, so now we need to just wire this IntelliHub to our other 2 hubs. So let's grab a number 12. We'll click place. Now, I mentioned that LandFX created that arc for us. Well, we can also draw straight lines. So if you look down in your command line, you've got the line mode. So we can just hit this hub. We can click on the L and we can just click and draw straight lines. So, sometimes you need to do that just to keep your drawings clean. All right, so we can go ahead and hit highlight object one more time just to make sure that everything's connected. It all looks good. It's all yellow, so we're good. All right, so again, at this point, we go in and we run a schedule. So down here in your lighting manager, you've got the schedule button. We'll click on schedule. We'll just accept. LandFX is thinking about it. We'll click out here to the left, and this is just set a schedule of all of the fixtures and the small amount of wiring that we have in our project. And again, what we're looking for is we're looking for this this VA number. So on this unique lighting lunar, we have a 5-watt 6.9 VA. Don't get confused by that little line right there. That's just a line separator. So we've got a 5-watt 6.9 VA. So we will then go out and grab our other non-plot layer. We'll grab a text. And all we're doing is copying that VA number, right? 6.9. And we'll do that for each fixture. And we're not going to make you watch that. It's pretty boring stuff. But I do want to show you how we get this out into the design quickly. So we're dealing with our lunar that has a VA of 6.9. And if we'll go back over into our lighting manager, under our low voltage and we click on lunar, we've got this highlight button. So we can click on highlight and LandFX goes out and puts a yellow circle or highlights each one of our lunars. And it gives us our count down in our command line. So we have 8 lunars. If you will tap your escape key one time, that will leave those fixtures highlighted. And then we can just come over here and just copy out this 6.9 VA, right? And this is a non-plot layer, so we don't have to be, super careful where this goes. And then we'll do that for each one of our fixtures to get that out into the design. So jump you over to another file. We've already completed this for you. Here's our schedule. Here's all of our VA numbers that are listed out. And we have copied those out for each fixture in the design. So now here's where we go in and we set our hub tag. We call out our hub. So let's go into blocks, discipline graphics. And this is just
so Pat, while you're going through that, I got Tom's question here. So his question is, how do you note the drawing if you're putting the lunar 35, 40 feet in the air? Are you specifying a fixture with a 50-foot lead, or are you making a note to add extra wire in the field?
So we will generally order it as a 25-foot lead, and then we actually add wire in the field. And then we do make a note in our, general notes of at what height do we want these fixtures.
Okay. Just as a note for the group here, please note that we do have 50-foot wire leads available. It's a separate part number than the standard deal. And I'm 99% sure that it's listed in LandFX. You can pick that 50-foot wire lead. As a side note, and I think this is kind of why Pat does it the way he does it, is if you do a 50-foot lead, it won't come with the LED pre-installed. So you've got to make sure that the LED is noted within your legend that the 50-foot leads will get shipped without a bulb in there. And I've had a few situations where guys have called me not knowing that, going, "Hey, what happened to our LEDs? They're not in the bulb." So there is a little bit extra step if you're doing 50-foot leads. But again, we can help you out with that as that goes through. So,
and Brian,
Tom, hope that answered your question.
Yeah, and at the end of the webinar, if we've got some time, we'll try to throw another lunar in there and and see if LandFX actually gives you that option.
All right, perfect.
Okay, so kind of back where we were, we're trying to set this little custom call out for each one of our hubs. So we're going to set this call out right next to our hub, and this little block, we just have some attributes associated. And so it's asking us, what transformer number are we going to? Well, right now with you guys, we're only going to have one transformer. So we'll just say number 1. And it's saying, what's our total wattage on this transformer? I'm sorry, on this IntelliHub. Well, we have our numbers right here in front of us for our VA. So we've got 3.1, 3.1, 3.1, and a 5.3. Is that 14.6? And then it's saying what run number. Well, this is going to be run number 1 coming in here. And so we just set our tag, right? And then we'll just take this and we'll just copy this around the drawing. And this will change these attributes to our number 2. Because we've got an IntelliHub that is connected to an S hub, this S hub becomes 2A. This would be run number 3, 3A, 3B. Pretty simple. So let's jump you over to another drawing that, we're not going to make you watch easy math, but this is kind of, completed tags, right? So we've got our 1, our 2, our 2A, our 3, our 3A, and our 3B. So here is the point that we will start sending this information out to Excel. And before we send that out, I want to talk just about another tool that LandFX offers, and let's start talking about, transformers. So down at the bottom of your screen, we've got this circuiting tool. And let's click on that. And this works just like zoning and irrigation, right? So we'll just say new, and let's just put a fence around all of the fixtures that we set today. And this is telling us that we have 124 watts, right? And we've got this little call out here. Okay, so 124 watts total in this area. So what size transformer do we need to set? Well, the NEC says that we can only use 80% of full power on a transformer. The transformers from Unique that we use are going to be 150 watt, a 300, and a 600. So if we look at a 150 watt transformer, 80% of 150 is 120, but we have 124. I want to see if we can squeeze a 150 watt transformer into our design. So let's go grab a 150 watt transformer. So we're going to jump over to the power. We're going to hit new, just like we do on everything else. And you'll see that LandFX doesn't even allow us to pick a transformer. All we can pick right now is an electrical panel. So let's click this electrical panel. Let's say, okay, let's just assign any symbol to it. We'll use this. We're going to call this a panel or a meter. And we'll say, okay. So now our panel has been entered into our project. Funny thing is, we never need to set this into our design. It just has to be in our project, our .lfx file, if you will. Now that we have a panel set, we can go into new and look, now we can pick a transformer. So we'll hit on transformer. We'll say, okay. Again, we've got to go to the bottom of the list because this is alphabetical order. We're going to go unique. We're going to grab a 150 watt transformer. And I want to point something out to you. This is telling us that we've got a 150 watt LED transformer and that we have taps of a 12, a 13, a 14, and a 15. We need to remember that. We're going to say add to project. We'll use this as our symbol. We'll say okay. Now let's talk about taps in LandFX. So one of the downfalls or disadvantages of using LandFX is that LandFX will only allow us to connect one wire to each tap. So we have a 12 tap, we have a 13 tap, a 14, and a 15, right? And for those guys that are on this call that actually, understand this, they know that that's not real world. We may need, 2 wires coming into our 12. 2 into our 13, maybe 3 into 14, and we're not even using 15. So we've come up with this little workaround that we're going to walk you through and show you, but I just want to talk about those taps. So we'll say, okay, that's going to add this 150 watt transformer into our manager. Let's go ahead and place that in the design. We'll set it right down here. And now let's go deal with this workaround. Let's go to auxiliary. Let's go to new. And what we did is we just created another little custom block that's called a tap. We'll say okay. We'll call this a tap. We'll say okay. That's been added. And let's go place this in our design. And remember, we said we had a 12, we had a 13, we had a 14, we had a 15 tap in our transformer. So again, these are just little custom blocks. Let's go clean these up real quick. This will be our 14. And this will be our 15. Okay, so these are our custom taps. And, literally we could take every wire in our design and bring it into this 12 custom tap and then run a single wire from our custom tap into our LandFX controller. And LandFX will allow us to do that. It will calculate this correctly. And we'll show you that here in a bit. All right, so let's jump out to Excel and let's start actually working the Excel spreadsheet so that we can determine what size wire do we need coming from our IntelliHub into our transformer. So this is just an Excel spreadsheet from Unique, and Brian will be more than happy to share this with you. And I will tell you that we use this on every single one of our lighting designs. The error checking that LandFX has is great. It's fantastic. I don't know of any other software that will do that for you. The problem with the error checking in LandFX is it really is only telling us, do we have an overcurrent or an undercurrent? And will your design work? Well, using this Excel spreadsheet, we can actually dial in all of our runs and decide, are we burning a little bit on the cool side or a little bit on the hot, the warm side? So again, this is from LandFX. Get it from Brian and start using it on your projects. We run a Excel spreadsheet for each transformer, and the only thing that we need to input into this spreadsheet is our total wattage on the hub and our total length of wire, right? So jump back over to FX. We're saying that we have 14.6 VA on this hub, and we need to know the distance from this hub to our transformer. Well, we don't know that yet, so we'll just take a polyline, just a dummy polyline, and we're just using this basically as a measuring stick. And we'll click on that, and over in our properties, it's saying, it's 25.66 feet, right? So we'll round that up a bit. We've got 14.6. And we said that was, 27 feet. So we'll go back, we'll import our 14.6. Our length of wire, we'll say is 27 feet. And what this is telling us now is that on our IntelliHub, run number 1, if we use a wire size of, let's change that down to 12. If we use a wire size of 12, we have this wattage or this VA, and we connect it to the 12. So this little spreadsheet has different tabs that you can connect to. Then our voltage at our hub is going to be 11.89. That's perfect. We want 11.89. We want a number that is no lower than 10 and no higher than 15. Now in our office, we don't allow the guys to go below 10.5, but that's just the way that we do stuff. So again, what this is saying is a wire size of 12 going to the 12 tap is going to give us 11.89. That's perfect. Jump back over to FX. We'll grab our number 12 wire. We'll place it. We'll hit our IntelliHub. We'll hit our custom block 12 tap. Now, we in our office, we always use a number 10 for this connection. Not sure that that's really necessary, but so we're going to hit our custom 12. And then we're going to hit our LandFX controller. And when I hit this controller, you can see this other dialog box pops up. And this is saying what tap in our LandFX controller do we want to connect to? Well, we're going from 12, so we want to connect into the 12. We'll say OK. Once that's connected, we can highlight object. We can hit this transformer, and you can see that we are completely connected. So let's jump back over to Excel. We've already completed the design for you, so you don't have to watch simple math. But this is telling us that run number 2, using a number 12 wire, needs to connect into tap number 13 to give us an 11.76. Perfect. 12 to a 13. So we'll grab our 12. We'll click place. We'll hit our number 2 IntelliHub. We'll go to 13. Did you see that turned magenta? I missed that. So I need to redo that. Grab a number 12, click place, hit our IntelliHub, hit our 13. Let's clean that up just a bit. Choose our number 10. Sorry, computer's running a little slow. We'll hit our number, our transformer, and look, this is what we were talking about. Our number 12 is no longer available because we've ran one wire into that LandFX transformer. So that's kind of the point of this little workaround. So we've got our number 13 tap. We need to go to number 13. We'll say, okay. Jump back over to Excel. Our third run is a number 12 wire going also into the 13. So we'll grab our number 12 wire, click place. We'll hit our IntelliHub. We'll hit our 13. And our 13 custom tap is already into our transformer, so we're good. So we are pretty much completely wired. So now we'll go to do some error checking or verify our design. So we'll click on this verify. And we get a couple of red X's. LandFX is telling us that we've got some problems. The first problem that we have is it's saying that we have two items that are not connected to a power source. So let's highlight those two problems in green. LandFX will zoom us to those problems. Well, the error said that we have two fixtures or two items that are not connected. Well, we didn't use our 14 or our 15, so they're not connected. Let's delete those out of our design. Let's run verify again. We took care of this top problem, but now we've got an overcurrent. And so this is saying that one items are receiving, I like that verbiage, one items are receiving current exceeding 80% of their max amp rating. Let's highlight that in red. Well, this is our transformer. And remember, we talked a while back that we have 124 watts, and we were going to try to squeeze a 150 watt transformer in. Well, let's jump out to Excel and see what's really going on. So the way that we calculate this voltage drop using VA and using taps, because we're using VA and because we're increasing our tap, our actual wattage went up. So we are showing a total actual wattage of 166. And we're trying to squeeze that into a 150 watt transformer. So that's why LandFX is saying, no, you can't do this. So let's just delete that transformer out. Let's go back over to power. Let's go grab a larger transformer. Grab transformer. Go to the bottom of the list. Hit unique. Let's add a 300. Our taps are the same, a 12, a 13, a 14, and a 15. So we're good. We'll say add to project. We'll grab a symbol. We'll say okay. We'll say okay. We'll place that in our design. And now we just need to reconnect these taps. So we'll go back over to wire. We'll grab a 10. We'll hit place. We'll go from our 12 into our 12. And we'll grab our 13 and go into our 13. And now let's re-verify the design. There we go. And we got all green check marks. So we're good. LandFX is saying that this system will run and we're good. So at this point, we can do some call outs. LandFX has this site call out for their lighting. We'll call out our transformer. We'll call it a T1. We'll say, okay. We'll drag this out to the side. And this is saying that this is our transformer 1. It's a 300 watt transformer and it has 166 VA. Well, guess what? Exactly what we are showing in our calculations. So the Excel spreadsheet is just an extremely important and powerful piece of equipment, if you will. And I highly suggest you use this so that you can really dial these things in. The other call outs that LandFX uses, you can call out a fixture. We don't really use this. We'll have details that are assigned to detail call outs assigned to certain fixtures, but this fixture call out is basically telling us that this one fixture is on transformer 1. It's connected to the 12 volt port and it has a VA of 3.1. Maybe you want to use that. We don't. You can also call out wire. And this is kind of nice. It's telling us that this wire is, on transformer 1, it's going to the 13-volt tap, and then it has a 56 VA. Might use that for some error checking if you're getting some crazy stuff coming back. But again, since we use these custom taps, our installers, basically just follow from IntelliHub back to the controller, and they know that they're going into that 13. So, that's, again, we don't really use those. We'll rerun the schedule at this point to update all of our wires and get our taps on the lighting schedule. And we will also always include that Excel spreadsheet on the file so that our installers know what our amp rating is on which wires, and they can double check that in the field. Brian, that's pretty much it. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions, and I just thank you, everyone.
I know we ran over. I appreciate those who are hanging on. This is a lot of information. So a couple of things that I want to kind of reiterate that Pat touched on. So number one, if you want my symbols, I'm gonna go ahead and put my email into the chat here. Email me and I'll send you the symbols as well as that spreadsheet. So that spreadsheet is something that we created at Unique Lighting. It is formulated. So when you enter in your volt amps and your wire runs, it'll automatically calculate it out. And so again, email me if you want that. I'm happy to share with that. I'm happy to go over the spreadsheet with you and help you with that. The other thing is, I know this is a lot of information, and for those of you that are new with land effects or even new to lighting, let's say you've been using land effects for a long time, but you're new to lighting. If you don't understand design, especially the engineering side of it, land effects isn't going to automatically do it. You got to have some knowledge. So with that, again, I'm gonna turn my camera back on. We help with that at Unique Lighting. It's complimentary. We won't charge you for it. My background as a landscape architect, I'll do as much or as little as you need in AutoCAD. So again, reach out to me via email, scan the code, whatever you need. We're there for you every step of the way. So while we're kind of waiting for questions here, wanted to see about going through the how you address an uplight with that's going to be taller than 25 feet. Grab a lunar and see how we do that. So let's run through that real quick. Go ahead and put some questions in the chat, or if you got a deeper question, raise your hand and I'll unmute you. I still have everybody muted, but I can unmute you through that if there's any kind of deeper questions you want to strain your fingers typing in. Like I said, I'm kind of keeping an eye on that. Tom, while you're going through that, Tom did have another question as far as, do you find that it's less expensive to bump up a transformer versus bumping up to 10 gauge wire, or have you done that analysis, Pat?
I'm sorry, say the question again. He's basically asking, is it less expensive to run multiple transformers or bump up to 10 gauge?
Yes. Well, adding because you showed the 150 was overloaded, so you bumped it up to a 300.
Yes.
So he's asking, can we go to a 10 gauge? Is it less expensive? I mean, my thought is this. I mean, and tell me if I'm wrong, Pat. I'm not on your side of it, but my thought is this: is that contractors on a whole are paying for about $1 a watt when it comes to a transformer. So the price from a 150 to a 300 is about $150.
Yep.
So is it worth? I don't know what 10 gauge goes for over 12 over a big job over that cost average difference. So
that's kind of we kind of look at it as we need what we need.
Sure.
And so many times, we're showing this, decent sized residential project, but a lot of the stuff that we design is commercial, obviously. And, sometimes it's It's so much cheaper to run 10 gauge than to set a new electrical service for a smaller transformer.
Gotcha.
Right? So that's why we'll
Yep.
get into these bigger transformers that have 24-volt taps that we may need to run this wire, for a long distance. But that is where our source is.
Okay.
Now, back to your 50-foot lead, it does not look like LandFX offers that. Getting way in the weeds without trying to get in the weeds, this custom height that they have in here, this is actually for setting your fixtures custom height if you are using their 3D connection to take it out to SketchUp.
Gotcha. That's
So
getting a little more technical.
Yeah, if we want this fixture to come into SketchUp at 25 foot, that's what this custom height is. Now, we do have a custom accessory that we could probably, type into that custom accessory of, hey, I want a 50-foot lead on there. Personally, I wouldn't use that. I would just put it in the notes.
Yeah, and I'll work with LandFX. If it's in our price list, it needs to be in there. So I'll make a note to work with them to get that updated. I thought it was in there, and that's my fault for not checking. So I will work with them to get the 50-foot leads included, at least on the downlights.
Okay.
So Pat, just as and I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but do you have an example of where you note out the height of the downlights in the trees, or do you just put it in the legend, or how do you really address that?
So we would put it on. We're kind of a unique situation, for lack of a better term, where 99% of the stuff that we're designing is for our installers.
Okay.
Right. So we are going to handle internally that, hey, we've got 55 downlights on this project. If we want larger leads, we're going to order that, but it's kind of handled internally. There's very few lighting projects that we actually design for other firms. The stuff that we design for other firms is more on the landscape, the structural side, or for irrigation.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. Okay, well, I haven't seen any more questions. So I'll hang out here for another minute or two if anyone thinks of anything. But like I said, I've got my name in the, or my email in the chat. If you think of something later today, tomorrow, next week, feel free to email me directly. If want to make a phone call, I'll got my there's my phone number in the chat. That's my cell phone. Please feel free to call. We're open and ready, and then hope to see you in a couple weeks on my engineering class. So thanks everyone for joining, and have a great weekend and great rest of the week.